I will say it again, never fire a warning shot. So we've got a video here. We can watch the little bits and pieces of this. But a guy named Boogie2988, he's a YouTuber that I have never watched. But he has over 4.1 million subscribers. Recently, he fired a warning shot at a stalker. Apparently, the beauty of the internet is that all kinds of weirdos can come to your house. And these two weirdos got into it, and Boogie2988 fired a warning shot at a person who threatened him. And now he is telling his story, and the long and short of this is this guy spent tens of thousands of dollars because he fired a warning shot. So we're going to talk about this with noted criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve. Thank you for being here again, Tom. Tom also advises against firing warning shots. But before we get into this, before I hit play on this beautiful internet weirdness, let me tell you, we got a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. It ends really soon. All you need to do is click the link in the description down below to find out which brand new gun you could win. All right, here we go. Video and commentary. Let's start now.
Threaten my life. I'm asking you to leave. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to fire a warning shot.
Fire it now. Okay. Fire the warning shot now.
So there we go. Boogie2988. I think I remember that right. I'm sorry if I got his YouTube handle wrong. Says, you threatened my life, and in about 30 seconds, I'm going to fire a warning shot. And crazy man with a maniacal laughter there. I don't know who he was. I'm really not getting that far into it. He decided, fire it now. And the guy did. And the end result was he wound up in jail. And he got arrested that night for launching a shot. I don't know if he fired into the ground or into the air, but what's the difference?
Well, and as people may note, this is a picture. We're listening to an audio-only recording of the incident. So, look, every single time, not sometimes, not usually, not maybe or most or nearly all, every time I've had a client fire a warning shot, they have been arrested, they have gone to jail, and they have been criminally charged.
Yeah.
Not 99% of the time, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So that being said, look, so kind of the quick backstory as I understand it here is that Twitter, who's on the right, versus YouTube on the left. And YouTube's the gentleman who is the homeowner. He's got the firearm. The Twitter guy boarded a plane. He's been trolling him relentlessly.
And actually, we can hit play, and we'll let him explain it himself.
Well, it is finally over.
This is
I
YouTube
literally
guy.
just
Yeah.
left the courthouse.
The gun
I've gotten home,
shooter.
sat down, and I'm ready to talk to you about everything. Let me point out just how expensive all of this was. And obviously, I took money out of my bank account and I paid for it out of pocket. What I am saying is this cost tens of thousands of dollars to fight to get the outcome that we got. Is it a perfect outcome? No. But it's the one that we got, and it cost a load to get there. And the reason I told him not to come here is because he said when he did, he would make sure that it was the worst day of my life. This is a person who had been stalking me online for months, threatening me online for months. This is a person who, in the middle of a pandemic, got on a plane and flew from where he lives in Atlanta, Georgia, to Fayetteville, Arkansas, for the sole purposes of harassing me in person. And because of all of this...
Okay, I want to stop right there. This seems to indicate a pattern of behavior which could rise to the level of, wow, this guy is a threat.
Right. Harassing,
Yeah.
stalking, disorderly, trespass.
So you see this happening, and we'll use this guy as an example, and we'll talk about all of the stupid stuff that happened and the bad mistakes that somebody made. So this guy stalks you for months and months and months, and one, you don't tell anybody about it. No police reports were filed or anything like that. And two, now he shows up at your house, and he's banging on your door. At that point, if you're going to get out your gun... Still, warning shot, no. We're going to go that and make it simple. Don't fire a warning shot. But you should maybe arm yourself, and would you have the right to do that? And then, what do we tell everyone? Call 911?
Right. This is a two-step solution. Number one, grab your firearm. Number two, grab your cell phone. Okay? You call 911. You do not go to the door. Period.
Yeah.
Going to the door is how this happens. It's how you wind up spending tens of thousands of dollars on attorneys, getting an outcome that, while it sounds like he can accept it, he's equally not as happy with it, but it's the best that could be accomplished under the situation, which, by the way, is very typical of court cases, whether civil, criminal, you name it. You spend a lot of money, you squeeze as much juice as possible out of that lemon, out of that rock, whatever the case may be. And at the end of the day, what winds up happening is largely based on the client's risk aversion or their risk tolerance. You get somebody who is successful, or they've got a family and they're successful, or whatever the case may be, they don't have much risk tolerance. So if he goes to trial and if he loses on this charge, he might be going to jail.
Yeah.
And good luck paying your bills from jail. Good luck taking care of your family from jail.
Or running your YouTube channel.
Or running your 4.1 million or whatever
yeah.
it is YouTube channel. Right, absolutely. So a business in his case, right? So that can absolutely be quite damaging. So versus people, you know, who they've been convicted of 20 different felonies, they've been in the system since they were 13 years old. They just kind of, you know, they squat, they flop on couches of friends' houses and so forth. Their risk tolerance may be a lot higher to rolling the dice. And you know what, I lost, I'll spend 2 years in prison or jail, or whatever the case may be. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So those things become a reality for our clients. And we're the largest criminal defense firm in the state of Wisconsin. 100% of our clients are private bar. In other words, they're not public defender appointments or anything like that. It's 100% of people like this, insofar as they have a job, they've got skin in the game, they've got something that they're fighting to protect, and that's nothing against. It's 0% against the fantastic work that public defenders do and all that kind of stuff. And that's not to attack or to denigrate people who don't have the access to get private bar attorneys. It's just these are two very different client groups.
And to your point, this guy wouldn't have to be fighting for something that he needs to protect had he just made the right decision. We're going to play some more of this video so that everybody can see that every step of the way this guy is making the wrong decision. There's even segments in here where he's like wrangling his dog to make sure he gets to protect his dog before he opens the door with the gun. I mean, to me, it's just a confusing mess from start to finish.
I was confident. My lawyer was confident. Hell, I even think the prosecutor was confident that if this went to court, I would walk away completely unscathed.
I don't think that's true. I don't think everybody was confident he would be completely unscathed if it went to court. If that was true, he wouldn't have made this deal, and he ended up with a deferred prosecution kind of thing. So he's, got to not shoot at people for 2 years. Tom, can you just tell us in layman's terms what that means, deferred adjudication?
Yeah, there's different names for it: deferred prosecution, hold open, deferred adjudication. Different states have different nuances, but in a low resolution kind of way, here's the way it works. They're placed on some sort of probationary period, maybe formally where they have to meet with an officer or some sort of case manager or court worker. Perhaps it's informally of, you know what, if you get arrested again, we'll find out. Either way, if you don't get arrested, you comply with the terms of whatever the agreement says. Maybe it's he can't possess firearms. Maybe it's he has to take a firearms safety course. If the case involved alcohol, which nothing suggests this one does, but if it did, maybe they have to maintain absolute sobriety. Things like that, right? They have to comply with those terms and conditions. And if they do, and the time runs out on the clock, in this case 2 years, the whole case disappears, or maybe it gets amended down to a ticket or something like that. Mind you, keep your nose clean and things probably go away. That's our loose understanding of what happened in this case. I'll just add as well that when you're in the moment, when you're going through a criminal case, you're going to be getting advice. Like the keyboard commandos turn into now they're attorney experts. Now they're courtroom experts. That cousin who barely graduated high school, they can see through the court system and let you know that your attorney doesn't know what they're doing, right? We get this sometimes, not often, but sometimes, and it drives us nuts because we get clients who they make insane decisions. I always ask clients to, in essence, I don't explain it this way, but in essence, create a value hierarchy of here's your goals in your case, here's what you most want to protect, and then kind of work all the way down to these are the wants, not the needs, and so forth. And that cousin who can see through the court system, they're going to upend that entire value hierarchy. This is pretty typical as far as what I see, as far as once the case is done and the risk is behind them, suddenly they're talking and seeing things quite differently.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, again, pejoratively. It is what it is. The risk is past. There's a burden that's been lifted for sure. But that's very typical.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I'm looking at this wondering if this guy wouldn't have had a better claim of self-defense if he had actually shot the intruder rather than trying to defend against, because we got on video of him launching a bullet out into his neighborhood. So if that crime, reckless endangerment or whatever is going on with that felony level crime, that's very clear. I mean, the elements of the offense are there. It's recorded. There's audio and video recording of him doing this. He did it.
And let's just pause for a moment to describe, here's the fundamental problem with warning shots. Generally speaking, prosecutors, in my experience, will consider any warning shot to be a use of deadly force.
Yep.
Okay. Even if you're intentionally aiming to miss the individual, and even if you're pointing to the ground, right? You're shooting straight up, you're shooting straight down, whatever. Prosecutors, in my experience, will typically construe any use of the firearm as deadly force in that way. All right. So we are privileged to use deadly force if we're defending ourselves or defending someone else. And although these laws vary from state to state, USCCA.com/laws to check out your local listings on what those laws might be. Generally speaking, if you're facing an imminent deadly threat, you can use deadly force in self-defense, right? Yeah. A warning shot is a catch-22 of you're always wrong legally. Here's why. If you're facing a deadly threat, a warning shot is not stopping that threat, right?
You can't stop the threat.
Now, maybe they'll turn around and run, but the point is that if you're facing a deadly threat, you shoot to stop the threat. You don't warning shot to stop the threat. And if you could use a warning shot, you were not facing a deadly threat.
Yeah. That's
the circular argument that prosecutors create and construct on every single one of these cases. That's it. That's the magic beans right there that they will argue every single time. There wasn't a deadly threat because it wasn't imminent, it wasn't here, and the evidence of that is he didn't have to shoot him.
Yeah.
Period.
And when he did fire the warning shot, it certainly didn't stop the threat. It didn't stop the bad guy from doing what he was doing. So let's hear some more about what Boogie has to say.
That's why we got the deal that we got, right? Any jury who saw those videos, who saw those threats, who saw that harassment is probably going to side with me. And it's better for the prosecutor in the situation to get his victory than to have that court loss, I think. No, I think anyone with a brain can agree that I should have never been put into that situation, but that doesn't mean I acted properly or perfectly.
Okay. Put into that situation. This is kind of a strange argument. I don't think he was put into that situation. Yeah, somebody showed up at his house. He controlled that situation. It's his house. What is he going to do? Where should he go? What should he do? And you said right at the beginning, don't open the damn door.
Don't open the door.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's pounding on the door saying, come out, calling you all sorts of expletives and names and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's on them, not on you.
Don't engage. Right. They're doing something. You're escalating that problem, and
and also don't be the guy who goes to the door pounding on it. That free tip, internet. Don't be either of the guys. The guy who's going to the door and pounding on it, or the guy who's opening the door. They both lose.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if you have the choice, you do have the choice. Don't do this.
Right.
And if you go look this up online, this is your example of what not to do, folks. So, and ends up costing this guy a ton of money.
In that situation. There are mistakes I made, and I want to own those mistakes. Now I can admit all the fault I want. My first mistake was engaging with this person in any way, on any level. Right?
Yes.
The way I discovered this person even existed was by his fans coming into my stream, telling me that this guy was coming to my house, he was going to hurt me, he was going to harass me, and I reached out to mutual people and said, is this guy actually legit? Is this guy actually crazy? Is he actually crazy enough to do something like that? And they all told me, no, it's just trolling, it's just...
And I don't know, I'm not real happy about his explanation of that. He's trying to justify these mistakes, and I don't think that's right.
Well, he's trying to justify it, but I mean, this is also, as somebody who's represented any number of folks in the same or similar position, this is a pretty common thought process, and he's laying it out in a very clear, linear, cogent fashion, kind of walking you through. Here's what I was thinking, and you can tell with this. I mean, this guy isn't dumb. He's intelligent. He's articulate. This isn't someone who's throwing back 5 whiskeys a day and, going out to skin a cat or something like that, right? I mean, this is not the picture of what we think of when we think of somebody who's kind of an Elmer Fudd, who's going to go out there and seek conflict, which belies the fact that this can happen to anyone. This line of thought can happen to anyone. You can rationalize yourself into committing a crime without even with thinking you're in the right.
Yeah, this is a prime example of someone who has no training about self-defense. He may have gone to the range and shot his gun, but he has no training about self-defense. Let's see if we can skip ahead here a little bit.
He got a very expensive lesson from his attorney, I'm sure.
Yep, Grandpa always said you got to pay for your lessons, so he did.
Calling me every name in the book through my door. Doesn't matter the fact that he was trying to pound my door down. None of that mattered, right? I should have called 911, retreated to the back side of the house where I would have been my safest, and waited for the cops to arrive. That's what I should have done.
Yeah, he heard that from somebody else after the fact.
Yeah, his tens of thousands of dollar attorney, hopefully, or probably.
Here's what you do next time crazy...
next time the internet shows up at your door.
Next time the internet shows up. And I don't even know, maybe this is going to get way off on a tangent. I don't even know why these two guys were arguing. Why one hated the other or whatever was happening on the internet. But, my understanding is one is largely on Twitter, the other is largely on YouTube. And, like the Sharks and the Jets, they just didn't get along.
And I don't, before doing this video, I've never heard of either of these guys. The information I was given, and I have no idea if this is true, is that the Twitter guy kind of falls somewhere on the troll spectrum. Yeah. He gets reaction videos. He does things to provoke, a disturbance, and, that's how he gets his lulls off of it, so to speak.
Yeah. So, let's see now that he's learned his lesson, and that was actually some good advice. Don't go to the door.
If you were ever in that situation, that's what you should do. But the biggest mistake I made, the mistake that I regret the most, is firing a warning shot. I had some gun training. I'd gone to the range a few times with guns, not that weapon, but other weapons. You can see that on my YouTube channel. I knew that eventually there was a chance I would need to protect myself, or my roommate would need to protect us. And we prepared ourselves for that eventuality, right? I didn't prepare enough. Too many movies was running through my brain. There's no such thing as a warning shot. And what I can tell you is that you only pull the trigger on a weapon when you're...
Oops. Wait for it. Here we go.
Here we go.
Prepared to kill, planning to kill, or you're in a safe place to do it, like a gun range. That's the only time you ever do it, right? There's a chance, however small it might be, that someone can get hurt otherwise. And that's obviously what I did wrong in this situation. And it has f***ed me up every day. Every day. I've never been able to say how much it f***ed me up on Twitter, how bad I feel about it, how awful I feel about it. I couldn't talk about the fact that I went door to door to apologize to my neighbors and friends in this area. I wasn't able to talk about any of that.
So he used the wrong word there, that you don't pull your trigger unless you're prepared to kill.
Right.
And I cannot stress that enough, that we are not here to kill anyone. We are here to stop the threat. We don't want them dead. We just want them to stop the behavior that they're doing.
This is about saving lives. If you're doing it right, it's about one thing, and that's saving lives. And how do we do that? By stopping the threat.
Yeah. And how much trouble can using that word get a person in? Can that change the entire nature of a case, or a prosecutor's the way the prosecutor is looking at the case, or the actions, or something like that? If this guy had said, don't use your gun unless you want to kill, before doing this, and the prosecutor got hold of that and said, this is what you believe. You said it in public. You think you should kill somebody.
Well, let's put it this way. God forbid, if he's ever wrapped up in another incident, this video is going to make the exhibit list because of that sentence.
Yeah. So, right into the camera, folks, we're not shooting to kill. We are shooting to stay alive. We just want the threat to stop. If the person happens to die after you are forced to shoot them, well, that's unfortunate, but that's not what we wanted. We just wanted them to stop. So that, as I watched this video before, getting some background on this, that's where I really, really thought to myself, this guy, he has absolutely no idea what he's doing with a gun in his hand. And
he knows something now.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know much.
Yep.
And I think you put your finger right on it. There's a difference between firearms training, and by the way, as I'm sure you would agree, going to the range and firing 50 shots or 500 shots or 5,000 shots, that's not firearms training. That's familiarity.
Yeah.
Maybe in the wrong way, maybe in a good way. If I sat down with a violin, which I don't play, and if I just kind of played it without reading any courses, taking any lessons, watching YouTube for lessons or whatever. I just, maybe I'll be able to scratch out Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something.
Yeah.
But don't confuse that for if I found a highly qualified teacher, if I found an amazing course and put myself through that, if I spend equal time going both ways, where am I going to be in 6 weeks?
Yeah.
I'm going to be someplace hopefully pretty good, or at least relative to where I am, where I think most people are. Most people, they get their software of how to do things from Hollywood. You heard him say it.
Yeah.
From Hollywood,
Saw
from the
too many
movies.
movies.
Right. Yeah. That's how you become a client of someone like me.
Yeah. And
Period.
Yeah. And honestly, going to the range and firing your gun is simply making noise. That's not training. He didn't have training. A couple of things are coming up now at the end of this guy's video, and I want to be careful with the start and stop button as we get going through here, but you need to listen to some of what he says right down here at the end.
That I should have never been in that situation to begin with.
He could have gotten himself
I
out
have no
of
clue
it.
how to navigate a situation like that. I wasn't prepared for that. And even if I was prepared for that, or you were prepared for that, can you promise me you know exactly what to do and you would be able to do it in a high, tense, stress situation like that?
Yes, I think you can. You can learn to do that. He went into that situation with no training whatsoever. And as he complains about this, I think if he had planned ahead, if he had gotten real self-defense training, he wouldn't have found himself in that situation. He'd have made the right choice because, honestly, the other videos that I researched watching this, he had minutes of time to decide what he was going to do, not just a few seconds. I mean, it took a long time for him to finally get to that point where he opened the door and fired the shot.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to maximize your chances for getting arrested and going to jail, this is how you do it. Don't get training, just watch the latest movie or whatever. If you want to maximize your chances for, number one, avoiding the fight and never getting into it in the first place, that's the best fight, right? And then number two is surviving the fight both physically and legally, then get the best training that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see how he wraps this up here. I think we're getting close to the end, and he talks about what he spent tens of thousands of dollars to get.
Most of us are going to make mistakes, right? Now, for those of you who have made it this far and you're looking for the specifics, what the judge, my lawyer, and the prosecutor have agreed to here is called deferred adjudication. And basically, it kicks this whole thing down the road for 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, it's very likely to get 346 and go away. It will not be part of my record. It will just basically disappear. I'm just glad to have it be over. It is possible that by going to court, we would have won. I think it's very likely. Even my lawyer thinks it was likely. I think even the prosecutor thinks it was.
I think he's going to keep harping on that he thinks it was likely that he was going to win. And I'm a firm believer that if that was true, he wouldn't have accepted that deal. He would have gone and got the, not gone for the deferred adjudication. He would have gone to trial and been
I don't know.
declared.
That's where the attorney will disagree with the cop here.
Yeah, take the good deal.
It really depends entirely on risk aversion.
Yeah.
I've got clients who swear to the fact that, number one, we do think that we're going to win, and number two, they believe that they acted correctly, and the prosecutor may have overcharged the case. But you know what? They're facing some sort of felony charge. The prosecutor's offering misdemeanors with probation, and they've got a wife and kids, and they've got a job. And it's like, well, if we lose this, I don't think you're going to go to prison for 10 years, but they're going to ask to put you in prison for a couple. And even if the judge kind of gives us something on our side of the fence of a year of jail time or something, how's that going to look for you and your family?
Yeah.
That's their thought process.
Yeah, and I guess I can change my mind.
You saw it right here, folks.
There you go.
Saw it right here.
A bird in the hand. He's given a deal where you know what? Yeah, that's still hanging over his head for 2 years. But I think he learned his lesson, and in the next 2 years, he's not going to go throwing shots around the neighborhood. So hopefully that's enough. But my grave concern with stuff like this is that people like this still won't go and take a self-defense course. He's going to think he knows, I did it right, I'm fine, everything's okay. This guy ought to get himself to one of the bigger shooting schools, and if he's going to carry a gun, and honestly, now he understands that there are people in the world who will show up at his door and threaten to kill him. He better know just what to do, and he didn't when this started. He knows a little bit now that it's over, but man, this was a huge problem for him that could have been avoided with good training.
I'm happy that we live in a country where the government can't mandate that you have to do, 1,000 hours of training or something. But I'm also happy that we live in a country that offers fantastic training and resources that are out there. I wish more people took advantage of them. Saying that puts less money in my pocket, candidly. So that is contrary to my financial interests of people don't get trained, they make mistakes, they get arrested, and they have to hire attorneys. But this would be a better world if everyone took quality training.
Yeah, if if a lot of things hadn't happened, if two crazy guys hadn't started arguing on the internet, if one crazy guy hadn't showed up at the other crazy guy's house, if the second crazy guy hadn't come to the door with a gun and spoken loudly, I'm going to fire a warning shot in 30 seconds. Clearly not an imminent threat if you got 30 seconds to decide.
And just really quickly, if you don't walk to the door and if you call the cops show up, what probably happens? The guy who showed up, the Twitter guy who showed up at the door, hopefully he'll get some sort of criminal trespass. Yeah. He probably will get some sort of disorderly conduct. He might get some sort of stalking or some sort of intimidation charge or something, depending upon all the different nuances. Mr. Boogie 2988, whatever his name is, he files for a restraining order and he comes out on top. He comes out the winner.
And he gets all of that video footage from his Ring doorbell of his nemesis getting arrested.
Right.
So, well, I guess we've said as much as we can, or maybe as much as we should, about this topic. But kids, don't fire a warning shot. That's just it. That's all I can tell you. Tom, thank you for being here and sharing your insights on this. One of the strangest cases we've talked about in a while, but certainly lots of good fodder to talk about. So truly appreciate your help and insight. And thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. Quick reminder again, we have that gun giveaway going on. Click the link in the description to learn more. I'm Kevin Michalowski. If you enjoy guns, freedom, and everything concealed carry, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. We'll see you in the next video. Stay safe.